Senator Leahy.
Oh, thank you, Senator Durbin. Thank you for holding this hearing. I think it's extraordinarily important, and I'm delighted this is the first hearing you and Senator Graham are going to have with your subcommittee. We know that the FBI director has testified before this committee and others in the past few years. There's been a dramatic increase in the activities of domestic hate groups. Now, some of these activities result in attacks targeting the American Muslim community. To make matters worse, some leaders, as Senator Durbin pointed out, have sought to sow fear and divisiveness against American Muslims. Fanning the flames of hate against those with different faith traditions runs contrary to our American values. Remember, our nation was founded in large part on the importance of religious freedom. I welcome the renewed focus by some on our fundamental charter, the Constitution of the United States, but I'd remind everybody the Constitution is not a menu with options to choose based on the political whims of the moment. Instead, it's a Constitution that sets forth freedoms and protections for all of us. The First Amendment in our Bill of Rights is one of the most defining principles of our national character. It preserves all our other rights by guaranteeing a free press and the free exercise of religion. It ensures an informed electorate the freedom to worship God as we choose or not to worship as we choose, our choice. It guarantees diversity. You guarantee diversity and protect the idea of diversity, you guarantee democracy. Now, throughout the history of the world, our religious minorities have been persecuted and maligned. It's a long list of religions whose members have been systematically denied freedom and categorically stigmatized, even exterminated. We must never forget this when we consider religious freedom and religious minorities in this country. All Americans deserve civil rights protections and the freedoms provided in the Constitution. That does not end with the vital freedoms in the First Amendment. It continues to ensure due process and equal protection. It's bolstered by important civil rights laws that we have passed to guarantee there not be discrimination against religion. Members of the committee worked with the late Senator Ted Kennedy and myself over the past several decades to ensure this fundamental religion, our fundamental freedom. We worked together to pass the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, Religious Land Use Act, the Institutionalized Persons Act. It's been long been a bipartisan issue in the Senate. But more important than being a bipartisan issue, religious freedom, it's been a consistent American value, and that's what really counts the most. American Muslims, like all Americans, must be protected by the rule of law that upholds these constitutional and statutory protections. We passed the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Act to strengthen the civil rights of all Americans. We responded to law enforcement concerns about the difficulty of bringing criminal prosecutions against those who target their victims because of their religion or ethnicity, their race, their gender, and so on. Last year, in the run-up to the national elections, the rhetoric became even more heated and threatening. There were threats of Koran burnings, and some have even asserted that Muslim Americans are not entitled to the protection of the First Amendment. That comment should shock and offend anyone who claims to love and respect the Constitution. Others on the radical right have suggested that Islam, one of the oldest and widely practiced religions on earth, is somehow not a religion at all, and so its followers shouldn't have the protections of the First Amendment. That is nonsense, and I would hope that Americans remember why our founding fathers established this great nation when they hear this kind of divisive rhetoric. I'm glad to see the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Tom Perez, here. Former Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Alex Acosta. Former Judiciary Committee Counsel, Farhana Kara, here for the hearing. But I'm also pleased that one of the leading voices of the Catholic Church in America is here to testify. Cardinal McCarrick's testimony reminds us that we Catholics also had our loyalty to America questioned, not just in the earliest days of our public, but during the lifetimes of many of us. My friend Dick Durbin referred to the Irish and the Italians and the Lithuanians. I knew exactly what he was saying. My Irish ancestors faced this when they first came, even to Vermont, now one of the most tolerant states in the country. My father, as a teenager, faced signs that said no Irish need apply, or usually more directly, no Catholics need apply. My Italian grandparents in a small town, an Italian community, were seen as different. Like my mother and my uncles and aunts, they spoke a strange language, where some who have heard some of the Vermont accents might think that's a strange language, but when they had Mass, the priest would have to come in through the back door and the curtains had to be drawn, or shades had to be drawn. Now, that would be inconceivable today. Members of the Senate of other faiths also know from their own experience that religious and ethnic bigotry can be easy to ignite, very difficult to extinguish. I agree with Cardinal McCarrick that religious freedom is destroyed by attacks on people because of their religion and by the terrible misuse of religion to incite hatred and even justify violence. When divisive religious rhetoric is used for partisan advantage, it demeans the principles upon which this great nation was founded. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you.